Welcome to the Living Legends. I am Fayaz Qureshi. In today's edition of the Living Legends, we speak to somebody whose voice is heard on the KBC English service on Sunday afternoons. He's an artist, and one of his works dons the walls of the school he attended. Besides that, he can tell the story of Kenya's advertising landscape for the past 50 years. Our guest tonight is artist, musician, and advertising creative Sam Madoka. Sam, welcome.
Thank you, Fayaz.
Absolute pleasure to have you on board the Living Legends.
Thank you very much.
So let's take you down memory lane. It's all about you. Tell us how it all started, your early life and education. Let's start from there.
I was fortunate. I was brought up in a good school. I went to Duke of York and then Lenana School.
Extremely fortunate.
Yes, very fortunate. I agree. And that's where really my life began, because I discovered I was an artist. I discovered my passion for music because I spent more time in doing those things more than anything else at school. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, as I got into the higher levels of school, I had to get into deciding what career I was going to do. Mm-hmm. And that's when really the challenge for me came in, because thinking I'm an artist, I thought that's all I'm able to do. Mm-hmm. But after obviously a lot of struggles with my parents about what I should do, what I shouldn't do, my father wanted me to be an architect or an engineer.
That's the typical mindset of parents, huh? That's what? Architect, doctor, engineer, accountant.
Absolutely. So I took the trouble to spend 3 months with each of those. And unfortunately, after I spent those 3 months with each one of them, I said to my dad, no, I don't really feel it. And he said to me, so what you going to do? And I said, I'm going to be an artist. And that's when he dropped the bad news that that's when he's going to stop paying for my education. My life was up to me.
So now, one of your long, enduring work is the painting of Libon Lenana.
Yes.
And that's on the walls of Lenana School.
Yes.
How were you commissioned to do this artwork, and what is its enduring legacy?
When I was at Lenana School, as the name changed, because I was there when the name changed from Duke of York.
From Duke of York to Lenana.
To Lenana School. Yeah. The challenge was, do we need to find Lenana, an image of Lenana? And I was given the rather unique position of having to paint the portrait. And this was a huge painting. And it's the first time I ever did an oil painting. So it was even though I painted, and that was my love, but I found it a fresh challenge, having to do oils of the man whose name braces this school.
Yes. And
that's when I did this huge portrait.
And I must say, it's an absolute classic.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Still hanging on the walls.
Yes.
And will continue for generations to come.
Absolutely.
And the name Sam Madoka will always be associated with it. Architecture was the first intention from your father's side,
yes,
but you were more inclined towards the arts,
yes, and
music as such, isn't it?
Well,
initially,
as being a young man at that time, you weren't too sure. But what happened then is after we agreed that I wasn't any good at engineering or architecture, I bumped into a relative who was involved in advertising. And he worked at Ogilvy and Mather, and he said, would you like to come and work with us? Mm-hmm. I had no idea what advertising was about. I was young. Yeah. I didn't know what it was all about. And I went into the advertising industry, and it's like it opened up a whole new world. I got into music, I got into painting and drawing. I moved out of painting and drawing and advertising because when I walked into that studio, there were 3 levels of guys. There was a guy who was under 20, there was a guy who was 30, there was a guy who was 40, and there was a guy who was 50. And I thought to myself, at 50, I don't want to be here.
Right. So this was straight after high school?
Straight after high school. Yeah. And I then said to my boss, listen, what else happens in this industry? And then I got the opportunity to work in every department. And when I got to radio and television, my mind was completely blown.
So by getting into the advertising industry, it actually opened other facets for you.
Completely. Completely. And
broadened your horizon.
My horizon completely.
In terms of arts, music.
Yes, yes. My love for music, even theater and everything. It just opened up a whole new ball game.
Interesting. Now tell us a little bit about the commercial aspect in terms of some classic commercial of the 70s that you produced.
You know, the 70s, when you're a junior artist, and I spent a lot of my junior life producing radio programs, producing radio spots, because you had European creative directors, and I was a junior at that time. So I didn't get involved much in that. So I spent the first 3, 4, 5 years doing radio programs, radio production, because that was my forte, as it were, at the time.
Right.
But when I started then getting into the writing and doing the creating the work, that's when I really got into the different areas of advertising.
So any classic commercial that comes to mind?
Oof.
Of the 70s and 80s?
We did a lot of Ketepa, I remember. We did Exide, Chloride. We did Diners Club. There were so many. It's difficult to remember them all, but a lot of them, the Ketepa commercials in particular, I was involved in a lot of Ketepa tea commercials and the whole range of teas that they did, because they were one of our clients.
Right.
Yes.
And the Diners commercial?
And of course.
Something special about that, right?
The Diners Club commercial was particularly unique because I had joined, but I was young and we're full of ideas and want to experiment as you are when you're young. And I got into a situation where I created this commercial where you sit on a chair and you fly through the sky.
That was very innovative for that era.
It was, but even the production of it was absolutely fascinating. You could actually pick a background and put it behind somebody in the studio. So for the Diners Club one, we went downstairs to the streets of Government Street, and we pointed the cameras to the clouds because what it needed was a cloud moving background.
Right.
And people were walking there, right? And people were walking past and looking at us and looking at the sky and thinking, "What are they shooting in the sky?" but that's how it happened.
Well, I actually remember it. It was an amazing ad for that era.
Yes, it was. It was.
And at that time in Kenya, the primary consumer of TV and radio commercials was Voice of Kenya.
Yes.
Tell us, how did it work from an advertising agency, sending the commercials over, or were you doing it jointly with them? Tell us more about it.
From an ad agency, what used to happen in those days, they were very strict. You didn't shoot commercials, you didn't record commercials until they saw your script, approved it, stamped it, and said you can record it. So everything had to go through scripting, script research, and approval before you even went into the studio and recorded it.
And that was both for radio and TV?
Absolutely, absolutely. And they could say, "We don't like what you've said here. Please change this. This is not a proper word to use." And of course, I mean, it was sensitive because the media was sensitive. It was the main station. They were very protective of ethics. They thought about any loose words that implied anything else were not...
and this was specifically Voice of Kenya?
Voice of Kenya, yes. They didn't allow it to go out in the air.
How long did this continue? And at what point did this strict rule change, where more flexibility came towards you? The agency.
Well, it took a while. It took a long while because while there was only one major radio channel, TV, radio, KBC running that, they were very strict. But the minute that the media started to open up, then they began to loosen up their hold on the details, wanting to see scripts before you, because there were too many stations now.
Right.
And that changed the whole culture. But the beautiful thing about what KBC was doing was ensuring that everything was palatable, everything was something that was acceptable culturally, faith-wise, anything that was important to the culture. They looked after that, and that was amazing.
Now, another of your passions is music, and you had these programs. This Is It, which was extremely popular. Our version of Top of the Pops, a reference for the latest pop hits.
Yes.
That was a huge success. Yes. And of course, Ring Us Up, the charity auction that used to run over Christmas. But before we go deeply into Ring Us Up, tell us more about This Is It, because I think that was very close to you. Isn't it? You loved it.
Yes, I loved it. Again, it happened later on in life, because for me it was an opportunity to get on television. And because, again, you didn't have these channels available to you on the screen or on your computer, for that matter.
Right.
It was an opportunity to get a show that featured international music. And I got this wonderful opportunity with the studio that I was recording with, for them to bring in special music for me. And the music that I played on This Is It was unique to the show. And it had a great following, because there weren't many shows like it.
It was the latest pop hits, right?
Yes, latest pop hits.
Like I said, it was our version of Top of the Pops.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and then of course, you can tell us about Ring Us Up then, and also radio.
Yes.
You did loads of shows for radio as well.
Yes, I did a lot of shows for radio, because being a young person, when I joined the advertising industry, I thought there's got to be growth, but it can't be on the main area of communication. So I said to my bosses, listen, I would like to do radio programs, sponsored programs, so that clients can own their own communication materials.
Right.
And it worked. I was doing 4, 5, 6 programs a week, sometimes 4 days in a week. I was recording nothing but radio programs.
So you used to produce them and send them to KBC?
Yes. Of course, and of course, again, in those days they would receive the tapes a week in advance, play the tapes, and if there are things, words said, or anything that didn't sound proper, they would say, take this off, otherwise we don't air it.
Wow. Strict guidelines.
Very, very strict, very strict.
And you're back on KBC.
Yes, I'm back.
After a long time.
It took some doing, because once you've stopped and you wait for another 10, 15, 20 years, you think, oh, I can't do it. But they managed to get me back, so I do a program on Sunday.
It's a very popular program called Easy Sunday.
Easy Sunday,
I listen to it all the time. It's a really good program.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So now, let's talk about Ring Us Up. The auction program.
Yes.
Did you enjoy it? Very close to your heart, because you raised lots of funds for the Disabled Society of Kenya.
Yes. No, I think that the objective of it was so great.
Yes.
It was great to be part of a show that actually raised funds for the people, and it felt really good. And it brought your involvement with different professionals yourselves, different clients, different areas.
Yeah.
It was such an amazing show, and because it was recorded live, it was electric, because you didn't have time to rehearse.
Yes.
You run with this show for the next 2 hours, and you run as it is.
Yeah.
You didn't have
the bids would be coming in.
Yeah, everything.
You need to update everything.
Everything, yes. And your clients would be coming in, the commercials would be coming in. You were just running as is. It was a first experience in actual broadcast.
As you reflect back,
yes,
any special moments in your amazing career in terms of advertising, being an excellent artist, musician? Something special that you can recollect or comes to mind?
You know, as one grows up, you tend to move on instinct, as it were. If you thought, this is nice, this is interesting, let me do it. Because you're young also, you've got nothing to lose.
Right.
So I've done so much in terms of movies. I've actually done some movies that were shot here locally. Radio programs, of course, that's another one. I'm starting my own music show here. It's just so unique. It's very difficult to describe it.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity that you get that doesn't. You can't set pace, or you can't say this is how you do it. For me, it was opened up. An open door, and I just went into it, and I tried this, and I tried that, and I tried that, and I just kept going.
People that may have inspired you over the years, you've achieved so much. Maybe family, as such,
yes,
or a certain person that you really would like to say that man was there right through with me, or that person as such.
There were a lot of radio presenters that inspired the radio programs that I did. Unfortunately, I can't remember all of them. But there were a lot of them on KBC General Service that were really smooth, well-spoken, fast-spoken, that really inspired me. And I followed in their footsteps to be able to create my show so that it met the standards that they set.
And you are an absolute legend. I know you don't like that name because that makes you sound old, eh? But you are a legend.
But I am old anyway.
Now, let's talk about the Phoenix Theatre.
Yes.
A bit about your acting days.
Yes.
You're quite passionate about that as well, right?
Yes. Again, it's one of those things that you did, and you know, I'm thankful to God for the gifts and the talents that He's given me. The act of loving, really, the whole process of acting on stage was developed by the Phoenix. The minute I started getting into radio, I got onto theatre and spent years in different acts, different things at the Phoenix, different shows. But may I say the one that really hit for me was we did a show called Sizwe Banzi is Dead, which was based on the South African situation then, the racial situation. And it's these two guys who get caught up in a cell and live in a cell and talk about their experiences. And it was such a powerful play.
And that's very close to your heart.
Very close to my heart, because again, for the first time for me, it gave me, I spent the first 45 minutes on the stage, on your own, telling a story. And it is frightening, because being put off is so easy. I remember I got put off by somebody who made a comment about what I'd said. And I was like, what did I say? And it threw your whole thinking, but you managed to work your way around it. But it was so powerful, such a powerful play, that I never forget that.
You need amazing confidence levels to stand out there. It's not easy.
No. And again, predominantly then your audience was 60%, 70% European.
European at that point in time, yes.
Man, and they were picky.
Yes.
They were very picky.
Okay, so it's a great chapter of your life, isn't it?
It is a great chapter of my life, yeah.
Let's move on. Now, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Kids to Kids Children Rehabilitation.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
I was there for a little while doing that, being on board of that, because it took up a lot of time, and it was for me it was good, because you are now doing something for somebody else, and you weren't really necessarily being paid for it. Yeah. But it was just you were doing your contributing factor as a human being to other people, and kids seem to be like a good opportunity, because kids are always there.
I think at a certain point in life, it's not about monetary gains.
No.
It's what makes you feel good.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely, yes.
And this must have felt really good, because you're helping all these children out there.
Oh, yes, it was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Any experience, any advice you could give parents on how to relate with their children?
Wow. That's interesting, because I think in the world we were brought up in, and I think our parents are really partly to blame for this. Sorry, parents. Because they allowed the institutions to guide us along. But for some strange reason, as I grew up, you discovered that the kids were left on their own more often, and the parents played a smaller role, because they put they said they paid money to the schools to help these kids grow up. But no. The role of the parent is so key, and I think as a society we're suffering from that, because that parental guidance is not there for kids who are about 15, 16, 17. They're different kids, and ideally the situation is we should maintain the guidance, the bringing up, the standards. Let the school just allow the school to guide. I know it's easier to let them go, but I think it's important that parents get closer to their children, because the children are picking up ulterior things. And now with the media being so broad, they're watching television, they're watching this, they're watching that. Unless you put a guiding hold on your children and guide them, even though they're getting all these things, because you can't be there all the time. I think it's so important as parents we spend time and spend time with our children, understanding them, guiding them, not allow them just to live their lives. I know that as parents they have challenges with finding work and being busy, but it's so critical. And I think some of the problems that we are experiencing now is because we ignored those roots when we needed to build those grounding roots in our children to be able to guide them and to be able to lead them.
Absolutely spot on.
Yes.
Like you said, the school has its role to play.
Yes.
But then the parents' role starts as well.
Of course.
You need to instill the morals, the values, the disciplines in them.
Absolutely.
And the time you get with them later,
Absolutely.
you need to concentrate. You can't just let go.
No, you can't.
You were absolutely spot on.
You can't.
Now, as we close, first and foremost, you're a great singer. And jazz is your forte, okay?
Yes.
You're across the board, you know. And I'll say, jack of all trades, huh? And master of all.
I am humbled. I am humbled. God has been gracious.
And as we close,
yes,
as a singer, we'd like you to drop us a verse from one of your favorite songs. Not just a verse, a couple of lines.
A couple of lines.
In your great voice, the Sam Madoka voice.
I'm going to do a song called Falling in Love with Jesus. It's a jazz song, but okay, here goes. Falling in love with Jesus, falling in love with Jesus, yes, falling in love with Jesus is the best thing that I've ever done.
Wow, awesome. I hear a bit of Louis Armstrong there, man. Next time you're going to do What a Wonderful World for Me.
Yeah. Yes.
It's been an extreme honor, pleasure, and I'm going to say it again. You still look very young, but you are an absolute legend.
I'm grateful. I thank God. He's been kind and loving to me, and I'm grateful.
And you're celebrating your birthday in a couple of days, huh?
In the early February.
Early February.
Yes.
Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you very much.
All the best.
Thank
all
you.
the best.
Thank you.
May you have a healthy, happy, long life.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sam.
All right.
It's been a pleasure hosting Sam Madoka, host of Easy Sunday on the KBC English service, a consultant, advertising, creative director, musician, and the man who gave us the painting of Laibon Lenana Olembatian that is found at the administration block of Lenana School. And can we forget his 80s show, This Is It, and his hosting of the charity auction, Ring Us Up. Asante Sana, Sam, for being our guest. I'm Fayaz Qureshi. Thank you for watching.